Welcome to Eden Equips, the podcast that shares real stories, practical tools to help parents, carers, educators feel equipped on their journey of raising and supporting neurodivergent children and young people. Whether you're tuning in with a cup of tea or coffee, you're in the car, or you have a quiet moment, I'm so glad you're here and listening. I am Rebecca, and today we're joined by Danielle. Hi Danielle, it's so great to have you here. Danielle is a neurodivergent individual who connected in with the Now group and now is working for and with the Now group as well. Danielle, I am delighted to have you here today. Your story is really important for many to hear. I think a really good place to start would be to ask a little bit around your own journey as a neurodivergent individual. Could you share with us what that journey was like in diagnosis or identification, and the understanding of that? What's been your journey?
Okay, so diagnosis, do you mean then from like the point where I was diagnosed forward?
Mm-hmm. Or leading up to? I think, Danielle, you knew the way when we were chatting, you were saying you lived 26 years of your life without knowing. Take me on that wee journey a little bit. What was up to that point of diagnosis? What was that like?
Up until that point, it was I would describe it like being in the woods and you don't know where you're going, but like you're trying to communicate, you're trying to reach out, you're trying to like be like everybody else and fit in,
right?
But everything you do is wrong and you don't know why.
Yeah.
You upset the people who you're close to, but you're not trying to. They just
You're okay.
Their expectations are that you will be normal.
Okay.
And if you don't know, which I didn't,
right,
you go into school environments, you go into environments where lots of people don't know.
Yeah.
And you know something is wrong, you know something isn't quite how it's
something
supposed
different.
to be.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, and you know you're struggling. You explain this to people. I remember conversations, and I also remember like even talking to people in school who were like even headmaster, and I can remember saying that I didn't feel like I was coping, but I also remember being kind of told, to me it felt like I was being made to believe that it was all in my head. Wow. And that part of the journey was very difficult. When I was in school, I remember I moved schools a lot. I started off in Glenwood, I think, and then I was in Black Mountain. I might get this wrong because there were so many.
There's so many to keep up with.
I had to move a lot due to bullying.
Oh.
I was moving around a lot, and one really big memory that sticks in my head is being the child in the playground who is frightened. There's so much noise, and you're happy that everybody else seems to be having fun. You're happy for them, but you don't have a clue what you're supposed to be doing or how to join in.
Right. Yeah.
And if you do try, you fail every time, and then you get this constant like rumination of something's wrong, how can I fix it, but you just don't know how. And the people who you think are your friends start to fall away because they don't understand. You know inherently something isn't quite right, but you don't know when you haven't been diagnosed.
Right.
I remember spent a lot of my time in Glenwood Primary School chatting to the lollipop lady who was my best friend. Outside the school gate. She would come over and check in on me, and she was such a lovely person.
How kind.
I would just stare out of the gates and have, like, there was a funeral parlour right next to the school, and a lot of the time I was just staring there and wondering about, like, the bigger things in life. I was a child, but I was like, why am I here? What's going on in there? Where did they go?
Your brain was really working. Yeah. Brilliant, yeah. And
yes, that's kind of how I remember the childhood experience of it.
And first of all, Danielle, thank you for sharing that, because it's vulnerable.
That's okay.
And it's hard to share that. And I really appreciate that, because I know so many people listening will have children or young people going through the same journey. And I think as a young person who's on that journey, it can feel, as you were saying, really isolating.
Yes.
It can feel very scary. It can feel that way of, like you were saying, those thoughts in your head of being like, I know something is different, but I'm not quite sure what. And then that fear of, like, getting things wrong. And there's so much happening, isn't there?
Yes.
And even, even quickly, just even saying, that jump from school to school to school, that's so much for a young person to go through. And yet the power of you being able to voice that is so important, Danielle, because so many families will be hearing this and be like, that's what my young person's going through right now. And this is really hard. So thank you is a really great place to start for me, of just even sharing that. So really, honestly, it's a big, big thing. We then journeyed through, and you got that diagnosis, identification, some people call it, of that, and talking about that. How was that for you? Did it feel like everything made sense, or what did that feel like for you, Danielle?
Well, to talk about that, my brain is going back to the time just close to when it happened. Mm-hmm. And I was at a cliff edge. I was nearly 20 stone in weight. Okay. I was depressed. Yeah. I was escaped an abusive household. Okay. So my family weren't happy that I wanted independence. They felt that I was somehow letting them down, I think, by trying. And they also expected me to fail. So I was very lonely and very afraid. I remember spending my days kind of staring at the wall and crying, and just the days were just floating by. And I was very depressed, and I had given up entirely on all of my hopes, and just kind of it was a very dark time. And in that time, and I would like to highlight this because I want to protect other people like me. Mm-hmm. In that time, I reached out to people with no family, hoping that I could find love and acceptance. And every person that I reached out to took advantage and abused. Yeah. I don't want to go into a lot of details.
No, but
sorry, I just need a minute.
That's okay. You take your time.
I really want to say this because I hope by saying it, people will be ready to protect their kids from those people. Because they are there. We as neurodivergents don't really often see it because I think we're so busy trying to fit in and trying to just be happy, and for me I tend to look at people like everybody is equal, and and I've noticed that isn't across the board with people. Not everybody feels that way. Right. But when I try to treat people as kindly because of the experiences I've had, that I can. And that shapes how I treat everybody. And so I thought I could trust people. Right. I opened up to them. And it was just every single time I was left regretting it. So yes, that was on the path to it, and I have trauma from those things. I can't even discuss them because of how bad it was.
And Danielle, I think again you're really highlighting for people listening the importance of advocacy, for other people supporting, because you're totally right. Sadly, we don't live in a world that everybody is kind and going to support. However, I know that on your journey, you reached that point. So that journey was so, so tricky. And as you say, I think really good to highlight, to say to parents and carers, hey, just make sure you're really supporting and loving, And what I love, Danielle, about your journey is it's kind of this full circle I see of now you're there supporting as well. You're being that advocate for so many individuals. Can I jump a little bit of that journey to that? How did you first connect with the Now group? What happened?
I was just diagnosed with autism.
Okay.
I had a team of people helping me at the time who were absolutely, I loved them all. Jane Perks was my OT. Brady was the psychologist, and I had a social worker too called Kirsty. And I feel like that's when things started to really pick up, because I always had it in my head that my granny, before she died, always said, "You're number one." And I've always tried to live remembering that. But I don't feel that I look after myself and put myself first. And once I had my diagnosis, I noticed that I wasn't putting myself first, and I noticed how things were really falling apart, and I wanted to fix it. And I also really had that burning thing of, I want to help people like me.
Danielle.
And that was a big pusher in that direction. I started writing stuff on a website called, what was I on? Quora. And I was hoping to reach loads of people and kind of improve understanding of autism. Do everything that Now Group does, but I didn't know about Now Group yet. But Now Group does it and more. So I'm just so delighted to be a part of Now Group, because they are literally doing what I've always dreamed of, and I'm now a part of it. It's everything I've ever wanted to do, just to support people who are going through that, and hopefully safeguard people from going through the many downfalls.
Really important, isn't it? And I think there's such strength in that journey. And just to even highlight that for you, Danielle, I've been able to go through all of that stuff and then turn around and say, I want to help others. That's incredible. And so many people wouldn't do that. You know, so many people I know in society would be like, well, I'm going to focus on me and figure that all out. And as you said, you know what your granny was saying, of making sure you're looking after yourself. And that's so important. And you did all of that work. And now you're supporting others. So what's your role within Now Group? Talk to me about that, Danielle. What do you do?
So we get to, and the community support officers get to go with the participants on day trips out and make sure they're safe, encourage them, support them in any way that we can. Protect them too. Right. You know, it's just everything that makes my heart happy. It's just the best thing that I could ever hope to be a part of.
So good.
We also get to help with teaching and kind of instilling positive things for them in their future, and then the wonderful employment officers can take on after us and help them continue their journey to success, because every neurodivergent person deserves a happy life and to be a part of society. Every single one of them.
You're totally right, Danielle. It's so true, and everybody needs to know that, don't they? If every single neurodivergent individual deserves a place and a rightful place in our society to prosper and to thrive. And I think that's what we start to lose out a little bit in society. And I love that then you're being able to turn around and support. What's some of your favourite things about your job? What's something you love? You said it makes your heart happy. What's some of those things that you're like, I love doing that?
I love to see their progress. I love to see when they're having a great time and when they're building their confidence and they're happy. Like, I just love to get the chance to be there and see it, witness it, you know. And to see them look after each other particularly makes me happy too, whenever they because they're on their own journeys. But seeing them actually understand how important it is to help each other.
To turn around and support.
Is another thing that just makes me delighted. Yeah.
I'm sure there's so many of those gorgeous moments that you get to see that really just fill your heart with so much happiness in that. And that's so exciting, isn't it? And it's so exciting to be a part of and being able to appreciate that. I think, you know, looking practically, I'm thinking a little bit of for maybe people listening, I'm even thinking educators, Danielle. I'm thinking people who are supporting in an education base, right? Because you were sharing that story, you moved around schools a lot. That's really hard. A lot of kids go through that. A lot of autistic young people go through that. What would you say was something that made a real difference? So you talked about the lollipop woman, right? Which I love. And what was it that she did that made a difference for you? You know, what do you think it's something that an educator could do that would make a difference for a young person?
she checked in on me. She genuinely seemed to care. She didn't really know me that well, but she just had chats with me every time she seen me and went out of her way, you know, to just be there.
Love that. And sometimes, isn't it, the most simple things make such a big difference? Like, that's just a human making another human feel seen. And as a little kid, feeling, especially I think the stuff that you shared of like you didn't feel connected in, she basically reached out and connected with you, didn't she? So I think even to encourage people listening, it's really simple things that actually make a big difference. And that's what we kind of always say in a lot of our conversations is it only takes one person to change the trajectory of a person's life. One person who really cares. And Danielle, what I love is that you're now being that one person for other people at Now Group, you know, that, you know, the way you listed to me, your OT, your social, people who were really great. What I love is there's going to be people in their stories that's going to say, hey, Danielle, she was the person who changed the trajectory of my life. So it's incredible what you're doing. You know, you've really inspired me. And I know a lot of people listening will feel really, really encouraged and inspired by you. So keep doing what you're doing, you know, and I'm really thankful for you coming here today, sharing that story. It's never easy. No, my gosh, we're delighted. Phoebe could not have sung your praises enough. So we were like, get this Danielle, incredible human being, onto podcast. So I think it's really important to keep sharing that, and that, you know, no matter your role in a young person's life, it's really important. You know, you weren't saying, oh, this specific high up person, you know, that lollipop person probably never even thought what they were doing was a big deal, but it was to you. And I think that's what's really important. Whatever your role is in a school, it matters how you connect with kids, doesn't it?
It really does.
Danielle, we have a game that we finished with. We were chatting about this, that quick equip. So I'm never very good at this myself, Danielle, but we'll try it out. Is there one resource that you really love?
The jam card. I love it.
Favorite one too, yeah.
Because it's such a good idea, and
isn't it?
It just gives people the opportunity to discreetly show that they are struggling and that they might need a little bit of extra patience and time. Yeah. And that's just a wonderful idea. It's a great thing. Yeah. And so that's probably my favourite thing that I could recommend.
I really love it because it actually really helps a bit of self-advocation. You did it really beautifully actually when we met, and you were like, if I need a bit of time, is that okay? Of course, you know, but for individuals who maybe aren't as far on as the journey as you know, you did that really beautifully in conversation. Just being able to use that physical showing, I might just need a minute, you know, just be kind, be patient with me while I'm processing this. It's such a good resource, isn't it? It's fab. We'll link it in the podcast notes. Is there a mindset that helps you, Danielle, at all?
Yes, I find the mindset that helps me links back to what my granny said, and I find that I struggle sometimes to keep that up because I tend to want to help other people before I help me, and so I have to remind myself that I need to keep up, because I've went from being severely overweight and my health being to a point where because of my weight I could hardly breathe, and I was so, my confidence was terrible, and it's still, I'm not the most confident person in the world, but losing weight has given me that kind of thing of
looking after your body.
Yes, it's time where I look after me. And I didn't realise how important it was. And I also was very kind of, because when you're neurodivergent, sometimes if you're surrounded by people who don't believe in you, you aren't really encouraged to look after yourself. You're kind of encouraged to just give into it. Just
survive. Yeah.
You know,
that's the way it is. Right, yeah.
So that is the mindset that works for me, that I would encourage other neurodivergent people to do.
Yourself.
Daily routine. Exercise as much as you're able to.
Yeah, love that, Danielle.
If you like getting your hair done or something to treat yourself, just to make yourself feel good,
absolutely.
Do it.
I love that, Danielle.
Those things are so important. Self-care.
They make such a big difference, don't they? And being able to just look after yourself, and that, and especially for what you're doing, Danielle, when you're pouring out and helping others, you got to make sure you pour in, isn't it? Like, you got to make sure you really have something to give and being able to do that. So I love that. And as you said, simple things, even if you like going to get your hair done or your nails done, just take a bit of time for yourself. Great advice from your granny. They always give the best advice, don't they?
They do.
Please, Danielle, no, go.
Flexibility with yourself too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would be the type to beat myself up and be perfectionistic, and if I don't hit every goal within the week, then I'm like, I failed, and I would sink into the deepest depression.
Right, yeah.
I have to remind myself that, and I actually have to write constant notes to myself and be like, okay, you did good today, and if you didn't manage it today, do it tomorrow. As long as you keep doing it, you won't slide back to where you were,
right?
Because that fear is always present.
It's always there.
It's always there.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Actually, I'm so glad you said that, Danielle, because it's such a big one. I think even for young people and children, they sometimes feel like, you know, I see it a lot in schools of like perfectionism around for autistic. Often girls is around like homework or a piece of work. If it's not perfect, I have to rip it and start it again. But actually you said focus on those wee things, those little achievements. And I think whenever you've journeyed such a big pathway and you've come so far, there's always that looming fear, isn't there? And I think beautifully put of you just say, write it out, write notes to yourself. Look how well you've done. Look how much you achieved. And goodness me, Danielle, I can hear how much you have done and how much you have, you know, amazingly overcome things. And I just really hope today, I know actually that so many people listening to this will be so encouraged and will be very inspired by you in your journey. So just keep doing that, Danielle. After you look after yourself, keep doing that and sharing your story, because I think the greatest thing that we can do is to support neurodivergent individuals is hear from neurodivergent individuals about their journey. So, you know, my brain's whirring away here about, you know, making sure like we connect in with schools and let them hear this story so that they're supporting their autistic young people really well.
So important.
Yeah, and you're making such a difference. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on today. Thanks for sharing your story.
No problem,
and I'm sure we'll have lots of conversations again in the future.
I hope so.
Thanks so much, Danielle. Thank you.
Thanks.